Hey everybody, it's Grace. Welcome to another video. I had a absolutely wild weekend at the GOAT Format World Championship. I mean, it was like 2 weeks ago that I qualified for Worlds, and then next thing I knew, I was basically, heading into the final round of Swiss with an opportunity to top. I did not top. I bubbled the event. I was 6-2 heading into the final round, and I lost the last round of Swiss, and unfortunately I did not top. I probably put like top 16 or something in the title or thumbnail or whatever, just for the clickbait, but I did not top the event technically. But still, I cannot believe it. It was an absolutely crazy weekend. And the thing about Worlds is like, this is not just any other tournament. This is the best of the best. And, there are some people that were in this tournament, myself included, that, it was like, how did you really get into this, world championship? But at the same time, like, I played against a lot of really high level duelists, and I was able to come out on top in a lot of my matches, and it was just crazy. I still can't believe it. And I of course really wanted to top. Like, at the end of the day, like, I was going to be happy with any sort of like positive performance just to get a few rounds into the tournament to make it that far. But then, like, when the possibility of actually topping started to kind of come into view, that's when I was definitely really, really torn up about bubbling, and I really wanted to top. But at the same time, it was an amazing weekend, and I'm pretty much over it now. It was such a good time, and I just wanted to say thank you so much to, some of the people that were cheering me on, my friends online. I especially want to give a shout out to my good friend, Nova Ethos, who messaged me before Worlds and was like, hey man, I really think you're going to have a great showing. I think people are going to underestimate you, and I think you're going to really put together a nice tournament, basically is what he said. And I don't know, that really stuck with me. And I was like, you know what, why not? Why not me? And, I just was feeling really confident heading into the tournament, and I tried to carry that confidence through all the rounds, and it ended up working out. So of course, before we get into a lot of the other stuff, I want to give massive shout outs to the GOAT Format staff, to the judges, to the tournament staff, and of course JDZ for doing this amazing stream. I always try to emphasize this in my videos, and it's not just me trying to like be a nice person or whatever, but these people really deserve like our thanks, because they are dedicating their time to running these events. And whether or not we necessarily agree with everything of how everything is supposed to go, they put up with a lot of shit. And I just think that if judges and volunteers and people that are taking time out of their weekend to run these events that we get to play in, like, if they don't feel appreciated, if they're not given recognition for what they're doing, then sometimes these people will leave, and then we're not able to run tournaments, and we don't have the staff that is needed to do these events. So it's really important to, like, if you ever come in contact with any of these people that are helping run events, just tell them thank you. Like, I think it goes a long way. So just massive shout outs to all of you guys. Of course, like I said, to JDZ, the stream was amazing this weekend. Seriously, I think this event was, I'm a little biased because I did well, but it was an amazing world championship. I remember it so much more than the last couple of years. I think the storyline of, Anthony Alvarado coming through at the end, there was just so many cool storylines throughout this tournament. I was, glad to see Moxie's get into the top 8. I thought the final stream, like that final match between Alvarado and Charlie Koch, it was just amazing seeing the viewership numbers on the GOAT Format stream, and JDZ was absolutely killing it in the booth, and I just thought it was really, really special. And hearing, Alvarado's interview at the end of the tournament, I thought was really poignant. And I mean, how do you not like this guy? How do you not respect everything he's done for the game? Just an absolute legend. So of course, major shout outs to Anthony Alvarado, world champion, and I think a great person and a great inspiration for many of us. Without further ado, let's get into some of the the deets of the tournament itself. So I decided to go with Warrior for this event. This is the list that I play that you can see on screen here. This is the exact same 40 cards in the main deck that I played for the Goat Grinder Invitational. The side deck is slightly different. We'll get into that in just a second. I feel like since coming back from my break, my game feels a lot better, and I feel like that I'm viewing how I play warriors from a bit of a different perspective. And it's helped me a ton. It really, really has. And, I think it's easy to say, like, to act like, oh, I've improved so much when, I just had a couple good runs in a few tournaments. I mean, I definitely think I have improved. I think there is, some quantifiable evidence to it, but please take everything, like I say, with a grain of salt. I think, as Yu-Gi-Oh players, we're playing a game that, like, there's a lot of variance, and you get lucky, you get unlucky. And I think it's easy to either, do really well and, inflate your ego, or do really poorly and think that you're trash. And I think the truth is probably closer somewhere in the middle. And so, if I sound like my ego's getting out of control, take everything I say with a grain of salt, please, because I don't, claim to be an expert on any of this. But these are just, the thoughts that I have about the warrior deck and, the strategy in general. So, like I said, I definitely feel like I've improved. I watched a lot of the Bounty replays. I watched a lot of Moxie's replays, and I've heard these great, warrior players, Scrub for Life, Tiso, plenty of others that talk about, how, good they feel about the Chaos Turbo matchup. And, I feel okay about it in the past. I felt 50-50. I'll win game 1 a lot of times, and then games 2 and 3, it'll kind of fall apart. But, since returning from my break, like I said, viewing this game, viewing this deck in a different perspective, I really do feel like I start to get that now. I definitely felt good about all of the turbo players that I played against, and even against, a lot of the chaos control decks that I played against. But that's also thanks to the side strategy. And, we'll talk about some of these different changes, like as we go through the replays, some of the stuff that old Grace would have done versus, how I approach the game now. So yeah. The main deck, like I said, 40 cards, exact same for the Goat Grinder. The side deck is where things got a little bit different. So the main idea is the flip side strategy. I mean, they have these other one-off cards over here in the side that I can go through right now, and then I'll talk about the flip stuff. So second Dust Tornado, just some extra spell trap removal. Needle Stealing, I was anticipating plenty of Chaos Control. We've seen Chaos Control kind of on the rise in the War League lately, and, it turned out to be the case. In the finals, in the top 4 of the Worlds, it was 2 Chaos Control, 2 Chaos Turbo. So I wanted this for Chaos Control or for Chaos Turbo players that I knew were siding into the Goats package, whether that's with creature swaps or whether that's with meta. And then also against like Burn and stuff, it can be really good. One Magic Cylinder, this is one of those cards I've had in my side deck for a long time, and it kind of went crazy in the Warrior Mirror versus Moxies, which I'll show later. But I think I should have cut it. I mean, let's be real here. I think, I'm a writer at heart. It's one of my like hobbies. And one of the sayings in writing is like, kill your darlings. You become attached to these little concepts that you have that you really want to show off, that you want to, be attached to. And this is one of those cards. Like, I'm just so partial to it. I think it's so fun to play, like the aggro mirror. But also it can be really good, like in certain instances, especially against Chaos Turbo that is siding into Solemns, because then like all of their Zambiras, can burn them for 2100, which can be significant. So I don't think it's like a complete meme, but with so much limited side deck space for the flips, I definitely think this should have been something else. One Assure Priest, self-explanatory, 1 Book of Moon, 1 Mobius, additional battle traps. And then here's where we get into the kind of interesting part of the deck. Like I said, I was expecting Chaos Turbo and Chaos Control, and I would side this package in against either of these matchups. I kind of decided that, like, I think the way that most of these decks are siding against aggro, taking out their Nox and, bringing in Zambiras, battle traps, potentially scapegoats, I just felt like their deck is, obviously with Nox gone, this is really straightforward, but I just felt like I could win the card advantage game, games 2 and 3 post board. And that really turned out to be the case. So I think the siding with this deck is kind of, something that it would be good to show, because like, how am I fitting all these monsters in? The idea is that I side out a lot of the warrior package and certain things. So this is kind of what it looks like post board. This is like a rough draft. Sometimes it would change depending on the matchup. Like if it's control, then like the needle stealing would come in maybe in favor of the mirror force or something. But the idea being games 2 and 3, we basically have one of all of the good warriors, one of the Kaiku, but at the same time, we're bringing in these flips. And I definitely want to see these early as like early openers because, my opponent's siding out Nox, they're siding out Minecons, and so many games I won just straight up abusing Magician of Faith. like just, looping Trinity. One of my matches I won from looping Deco with Tsukiyomi. Merchant was pretty good. I almost went with 3 faiths instead of the merchant, but I wanted to make sure that I had like the light and dark ratios right for the chaos sorcerer, because there was a chance that if I were to nobleman my opponent's magician of faith, I would take out all 3 of those faiths, and then my lights get a little weird. So yeah, that's the idea. Just abusing flips post board because opponents are siding out their knocks. It's as simple as that. And it really turned out to be the case. I just felt like my deck was just so much better than a lot of the turbo players and a lot of the chaos control players post board, because of just, flips resolving without knock. I mean, imagine that you are allowed to just, do magician of faith whenever you want. That turns out to be a pretty good strategy. So yeah, I was really happy with how that whole side thing performed. The problem became, though, I didn't feel like I had enough side deck space dedicated to burn. I had the Mobius, I had the Needle Ceiling, I had, Dust Tornado, stuff like that. And I also didn't feel like I was equipped enough for like the Warrior Mirror or the Aggro Mirror. I typically like to side maybe even Spies, maybe even Spirit Reaper. Stuff like that can kind of slow down the pace of the game a bit. Maybe even a Zombira. I did have a Zombira in the side at one point in time and ended up taking it out. So I definitely felt weak to the Warrior Mirror. I felt weak to, like I said, to burn. So those were the 2 matchups I wanted to dodge. I played 2 aggro mirrors. I won one of them, lost the other one to Moxie's. Also, some might wonder why I didn't play Spy in the side instead of like Dekoichi's. And like I said, it's because I wanted to play the card advantage game. I didn't, Spy does, help you in a lot of ways. I in no way think it's, bad. I think it's an amazing card, obviously. I just think in the way that I wanted to kind of shape this side deck, I really wanted to, like I said, exploit card advantage. I wanted to potentially loop some of my flips with Tsukiyomi. The idea behind Tsukiyomi, I wanted to mention, by the way, because some people don't quite understand why I played this card. And the idea is that post-board, Nobleman becomes quite a bit worse. Namely because sometimes like Chaos Turbo is siding out some of their flips like Dekoichi's in favor of Zombira's, and so Sook is another way to help make your Noblemans live. And also, of course, it's combination to be able to potentially loop some of your flips, and because it is an answer in its own right to Zombira. So I feel like it helps make Nox live. You can loop your flips, and it can get over some of the problematic monsters like Zombira, like potentially Kaiku for whatever reason, post-board. So I like it. I really do. And I brought the Sangen in as well, as to kind of like mix up what I'm doing so people are kind of kept on their toes. Sometimes in the like aggro mirror, I would bring in the Tsukiyomi and the Sangen to, kind of mix things up a bit. Sangen can be a really good like way to bait out Exiled Force or Mystic Swordsman level 2. So that was kind of the idea behind the side. I think that sums it up for the most part. Now, the tournament itself, I think that, this is going to sound a bit high horsey, this next whole section, so bear with me, but I really wanted to make sure that like my mental game was at the, as good as it could be ahead of the tournament. This is the World Championship. Like I wanted to play the best that I possibly could, give myself the best chance I could. And, so I really focused on like, my mental state. I never really had done this a lot during Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments. I have some other hobbies that I participate in tournaments for. I won't get into right now, but, so I understand a lot of like mental game of tournaments, but I've never really approached it, from a very hardcore perspective for Yu-Gi-Oh. So I just really was trying to stay positive. I was trying to not, think about too many, negative thoughts that creep in, like as the rounds go on, like, oh, this would be, look how great of a start I'm off to. It'd still suck if I just lose the next 2 and I'm out. That would be a bummer, right? Like just thoughts like that. I tried to like shove them down, put them away as much as possible. I tried to just be confident and say like, hey, I can beat anybody at any given time. Doesn't matter who I'm paired up against, Alvarado, AJT, Moxie's, anybody. I can take anybody down at any given time, and just trying to be confident was really important. One of the things that I did in between each round was some of my matches ended really quickly, and so some of the things I wanted to do is instead of like sitting at the computer and just like scrolling through Discord or watching a bunch of the other matches, trying to like scout, I just like went outside and went for a walk, and I felt that like really helped me a lot to kind of like recenter myself, to kind of just say a few little things to myself like, hey, you got this. be confident, you can beat anybody, stuff like that. And it really helped me kind of recenter myself and just to step away from the game for a bit. I feel like sometimes I get like Yu-Gi-Oh fatigue from tournaments because I'm playing and then I'm watching and then I'm playing and then I'm watching, and I definitely wanted to like, keep that at bay. So that was kind of my like mental approach to, the tournament. If it really helped in the end, I don't know, but I definitely felt like it did. So that's that. Okay, last thing before we get into the replays. I'm recording this next day as I'm editing this video. I originally recorded replay reviews of every single round, and the first couple rounds were good, but the later the video went, it just wasn't great. I don't think it's very good content. So I went ahead and I'm just going to pick out a couple replays that I thought were at least somewhat interesting, and we'll go through those. In addition, watching all these replays back now that I have, damn, I played really, really bad in a couple of the last rounds. Yeah, part of me had this like outrage of like, damn, I should have topped. Man, I really didn't deserve the top. Let's be real. And it's not me being like way too hard on myself or anything like that. It's just straight up like I just wasn't playing at the level needed to, get into the top cut. I thought initially, hey, I'm just getting unlucky, but that's what, replay reviews can do for you. In one of my final rounds, there was an instance where I had a live BLS that I just straight up discarded because I did not realize that it was live. And this is in the GOAT Format World Championship. It was pretty brutal. So to be honest, definitely humbled by some of the replays that I watched. I still want to definitely show some of them. But I didn't feel like a lot of it was great content, especially after 2 hours of talking. The video was going to be like 3 hours long. So I just cut this down. We're just going to show a couple of replays. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to give context about how the entire tournament shaped out. And I figured another way to do that would be by throwing this up on the screen, showing my round by round, and just talking a little bit about it. So round 1, I played against Chaos Control. We are going to watch this replay in this video. Round 2, I played against Control with Warriors in it, I guess. I really wasn't sure 100% what that deck was. I won game 1, and games 2 and 3, I just bricked on all monster hands. Like both games 2 and 3, I drew so many monsters. But woe was me. I'm not gonna like go round by round and whine about everything bad that happened, but I definitely just drew all monsters. It was bad. And I got rushed down really quickly, so I couldn't, do anything. If I had a tribe or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. Round 3, I played against Skill Drain Aggro. So this was Coach Jay. He typically plays this kind of deck. Yeah, I feel like I just kind of outdrew him. I was able to go first in the aggro mirror, able to dust shoot him and stuff like that. That really helped. I did have a cool play where I had a Blade Knight up, and he was trying to crash a breaker into it. And he had a skill drain up, and in the, I guess, like damage step or whatever it is, I don't know how the ruling stuff works, I used an MST on the skill drain so that Blade Knight went up to 2,000. I was pretty proud of that play. I like that. Then round 5, I played against Insidious. This is the other replay I'm going to show. Round 6, I played against Herney Hog. Incredible duelist, very talented. Absolutely sacked Herney, just absolutely sacked him. Game 3, he opened double TD. It is what it is. Then round 7, I played against Moxies, which is hilarious because we made that video together about the Warrior Mirror, and then we end up playing each other in the Warrior Mirror. And I'll be honest, he played incredibly well, of course, so not taking anything away from him at all. But I played really bad, I think, watching this one back. There was some definitely questionable moves that I made, and I think I didn't side correctly either. Yeah, definitely made some mistakes against Moxies for sure. I was trying to be too cute in a lot of spots when I should have just played him straight up. Yeah, so major props to Moxies for getting the top 8. I hope to maybe have him on the channel here soon so he can talk about his run and we can, further push more Warrior propaganda. Round 8, I played against Fabio King. This was the match that I still somehow won despite throwing away a live BLS. I got away with murder there for sure. Yeah, and then round 9, I lost 0-2 to Trishula 93. This was actually a much closer match than, the 0-2 score would indicate. I think that there was definitely a world where I could have won this match against him. I mean, obviously we never went to game 3, but game 1, I did not play especially well. Game 2, I played pretty poorly. and even despite drawing well. So, major shout out to Trishula. Congrats getting to the top 4, I believe. So yeah, wanted to go over the matchups because we're not going to see all the replays, but we'll at least go into 2 replays now. Yeah, a quick note about the profile pic. Yeah, I thought this would be funny because, the fairy background and stuff like that. So I photoshopped like the heavenly gates behind me or whatever. I thought it was so funny. This picture I had to retake like 8 times because I kept laughing every time I like held up the cards. Yeah, it was funny. So first round, I'm playing against Harry S. I really don't know much about this duelist at all. I imagine they're one of the Italian qualifiers. But I could be wrong. I knew nothing about them. And that was kind of some of my mental with the tournament as well. It's like not to try to scout too much. Like it helps, definitely can help, but I didn't want to overthink things and be making silly decisions. So here we go. First round of the GOAT format World Championship. I have no idea what this duelist is on. So, there's could be some way that, I could, maybe summon or set this Mystic Swordsman level 2 or, grab like a DD Warrior Lady. It's not a bad first turn summon. I like DD Warrior Lady first turn as a summon if you have knock in hand. But I decided, you know what, let's just play it passive. Let's just see what my opponent has in hand before I do anything crazy. So I don't mind getting dust shooted, because I have a pretty, versatile hand that you don't really care what, they put back. Because of Rhoda specifically. So I don't really mind getting dust shooted. And so yeah. So I use dust shoot of my own. I see that it looks like chaos control. So we have a dead sorcerer, knock, torrential, sinister, Sakura to armor, and scapegoat. So obviously the scapegoat's a bit of a problem. But not horrible. I don't feel like, this is an unwinnable matchup game 1. I decided to send the Sinister. I don't know. I think either one of these is fine. Like if I had another light in hand or another dark in hand, I maybe would send the Sorcerer, but putting him off of, he doesn't have light or dark currently, so I'll just send the Sinister. I think that seems reasonable enough. And then he decides to completely pass. Which is interesting to me. Playing this very passive, playing it slow, playing for the long game. But he might not realize yet that I'm on Warriors. So I say, let's just go Donnie and get a rip. Maybe we can hit the scapegoat tokens. That would be sick. I'm trying not to like think way too far ahead. I remember at this point in time, like trying to plan for the Saku or the torrential or the scapegoat tokens or anything like that. Like let's just get after it. So I hit the knock, unfortunately. And then my opponent goes Snatch. So I didn't know they had Snatch, or I guess they drew that off the top, which kind of sucks. So I thought a little bit about this, like whether I were to ring immediately, whether I want to ring later, whether I want to ring at all. But ultimately, I let this go through. I don't think there's anything. Obviously, there wouldn't be anything to tribute for because the only card that I didn't know is the Snatch. So we'll at least get their battle phase out of the way, which it really doesn't make a ton of difference. And I decided to go ahead and ring. This is something that old Grace might not have done. I might have had too big of an ego, and I don't want to lose this, 2-for-1. Let my opponent get this, nice plus, which Snatch, forcing out a trap from your opponent. That is a +1 for my opponent. So I thought about maybe like waiting because, I don't mind if he were to hit knock. I really wouldn't hate, for him to hit a lot of these besides the Snatch of my own. But knowing that he has scapegoat tokens, knowing that he has ways to Sakuretsu armor, I don't feel like it was worth, so I went ahead and just ringed. I know that seems obvious to some people, but I just don't like getting, letting my opponent have the +1, and I think that's something that when I say I've improved a bit, it's some of that stuff, just like letting, letting stuff like that happen, taking the L, and then trying to recoup my advantage at a later date. So he sets one. I assume it to either be the torrential or the scapegoat tokens. I think more than likely it's the scapegoat tokens. So I want to, start getting after it. Because I have the knock, I don't mind go ahead and getting aggressive with the Mystic Swordsman level 2. So I think this is all kind of reasonable. And my opponent lets it go through. And we continue to just kind of do this whole song and dance. it could be the torrential, so no need to like get aggressive. Just keep poking, force him to eventually use something. So I could go main phase 2 tribe, but I don't really know what I would like to discard. I kind of almost want all of these. Maybe the nobleman, because I have the exile to deal with a face down anyway. So I don't know. I kind of wait, I think, because if I can get him to use a creature swap or a metamorphosis, that'll be perfectly fine anyway. And then I can always tribe or exiled or do whatever I need to do. So then I draw into Pot of Greed, but I get Dust Shot, so they know my hand. Send back Tribe, which maybe I should have anticipated that they could have potentially drawn into Dust Shoot. I was just banking on like I'm gonna do this Tribe on my own turns, not in main phase 2. So go ahead and use Pot of Greed anyway, and now I'm just in a pretty good spot, I think, regardless of what's going on. So I know he still has Torrential and Sakuretsu Armor. Those are the 2 cards I think I know at this point. Yeah, and the Chaos Sorcerer that's not doing anything. So, and then I just passed. This is another thing that I think in the previous, iterations of Grace, I would have sat this Solemn without really thinking about it. But, the fact that I have Heavy Storm in hand and knowing that my opponent has 2 non-chainable traps stuck in their hand, they're going to have to set them eventually, and he's low in life. So if I can just, get into a position where I can use my heavy, put a bunch of damage on board, then I can have, kind of whatever I want to do later backed up by Solemn. That feels pretty good. So then I realized that I have game because I heavy. He still didn't set. That's interesting. He set the knock there, maybe trying to bait the heavy, but I had game regardless. So that'll do it. That is kind of what, this can happen game 1. This is the typical game 1 warrior thing. Your opponent draws knocks. Their dust shoots don't do a ton, even if they resolve. So, this is a pretty typical game 1, warrior thing. I'm glad I was able to, hold the heavy and, get it done. Nothing crazy. And we see another Pot of Greed in the hand, which is nice. So, rip it. Yeah, I kind of consider summoning this, but also I'm not too really concerned about what my opponent is setting turn 1 if he's playing CC. So I go ahead and just set everything and let's kind of, evaluate the situation from there. They go Gravekeeper Spy, which, is fine. I have the Torrential, but also I have the Sasuke and Tribe, so I don't really feel like using the Torrential yet. I'd like to save the Torrential and the Tribe for potential scapegoat tokens later, so I don't really want to, use it quite yet. And plus, playing it this way will allow me to, force out some battle traps potentially, which I'm always glad to get through, even if this attack doesn't go through. So it gets Sakuretsu Armored. This is where I think for a bit, because I have the call set. I'm trying to decide whether I should go ahead and just, go for it and call back the Sasuke. I think it's fine. I think that's what I end up doing, but it ends up getting MST'd. So, whatever. We have the Torrential, so not a horrible spot to be in. There's a world where he were to flip. I'd probably Torrential most flips, but I don't know. He just decides to attack for 12. I'll just take it, have the Tribe. Opponent sets 1, end phase Dust. This is all pretty straightforward. I draw into Faith, which is really nice. So I could definitely clear the Spies, but I have Torrential, I have Solemns. This hand is, looking really nice right now. So I'm just going to set the Faith. This is the thing. Without knocks in the deck, this card just goes crazy. It just goes crazy every time. This is like a recurring theme through every match. Having multiple copies of this in my deck post board is amazing. So what do I end up doing here? So I end up going Flip Faith, target Pot of Greed, Torrential. I don't even care what this other set is, but because this is just mega value. So yeah, huge. Now I have the Tribe still to deal with a lot of stuff. Have the Exiled. I have Lights Engraved. Don't have the Dark yet. This is another thing. I sided into a lot of Darks. I did side into plenty of flips and stuff, but I didn't. But I always took out Donzalug, so I wasn't able to Rota for a Dark, which is something maybe I should consider in future, ways if I ever play a deck like this again. So what do I end up doing here? I think I like Rhoda for DD Warrior Lady. That seems nice because at least DD Warrior Lady trades into pretty much everything. We already got our lights in grave anyway. We have the Exiled for any potential sets. So if I didn't have the Exiled, I would maybe go Blade Knight or something. So yeah. He goes Breaker. This is kind of not the card I want to see. I consider whether or not to Solemn this. He already has Light and Dark anyway. I'd really like to save the Torrential for like maybe a Scapegoats or like a Mirror Force or a Chaos Monster. But I end up using the Solemn. I think this is fine just to protect my other Solemn and my Snatch. And I end up getting Dust Shooted, which I was not expecting, to be honest. So what happens here? They see my hand. They send Tribe. Fair enough. So I assume there might be Scapegoat tokens set back there. I think knowing that I have Book, like Ring is definitely, well, Ring's gone, so I'm not too worried about Ring anymore. Yeah, I decided to go ahead and just get after it. I think I'm trying to decide I remember thinking whether I needed to Solemn a Scapegoat if they were to use it at this point, but just set the Book and pass. Goes on Byra. I don't remember what I do here. The problem is, like, I definitely could book the Zombira, and then attack back over it next turn. But there's the potential that he has a battle trap set, or I don't know. I think I'm basically saying, like, I'm willing to kind of, slow down the aggression if I let this attack go through just to save my book for later for like a meta or something. I think saving the book is what I'm thinking. I'd rather just use it for later. I'm fine to trade 1-for-1 into the Zombira, especially because I already have lights in grave. So drawn to a knock. I decide here, because I have the book to protect the Exiled, I decide to go ahead and start getting aggressive with the Exiled. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is correct because it kind of goes against the logic that I was just using for the DD Warrior Lady. Sometimes I play this game off of feel, It is what it is. Draw into Prima. So I was considering like maybe Prima Faith and then book it, but there's plenty of ways that play could get interrupted. So I think I just decided to go ahead and just continue getting aggressive with Exiled. So then I decide to Solemn the Scapegoat tokens. This is a bit risky. I think I put myself in a bit of a compromised position here, especially because like the lower I get, Snatch becomes worse. But it is what it is. My opponent doesn't have a lot to do, it seems. I know I have 2 Thunder Dragons in hand, so go ahead and just, let's just get in with the Sanguine, get a Dark going into play. I got the book to protect against any weird thing that could, try to kill me. Yeah, definitely, happy for that to all happen. That's good. Get the Torrential out of the way. Yeah, and then I just, let's just go for a game with BLS. Why not? I got the book to protect it. If he were to summon a Chaos Monster in response, then I would, book to protect my life and then Snatch their next turn. I would book the BLS, and that's game. I'm curious what my opponent had here. So they had double Thunder Dragon, Meta, Duo, and Dekoichi, which I would have had the knock for anyway. So, I mean, that game was just kind of a blowout because of the Pot of Greed, getting to use it twice. But, that is what it is. That's what the post-board flips are able to do for you. So, round 1 down. Okay, on to round 3. I am currently 2-1. I am playing against I Am Not Good. I think they have another name on Discord. I believe they won a GOAT Grand Prix, and I know at this point that they are on Chaos Return. Matchup I feel fairly good about as long as I don't get walled out by spies. I think my ultimate decision was I'd really not thought whether or not I'd be siding into the flip package versus this deck or not. So yeah. So they just set 2. They go first. They see my hands. Send the DD Warrior Lady, of course. Yeah, this was an interesting spot to be in because they know that I have Dust Shoot, and they also know that I have Duo. So Like I could just duo and then just make the dust shoot dead, or I can dust shoot and the duo becomes dead. But I would assume that he at least has, you know, more than one monster. I would hope, so that I can get some value off the duo next turn. Decide not to set the Solemn because, and why do I set the knock? Why do I set the knock? I think I set the knock just in case he has like a Dust Tornado. I know typically Chaos Return, not typically, sometimes they play multiple copies of Dust Tornado. I wanted to take that 50-50 shot on potentially hitting the Nobleman rather than the Dust Shoot. I think that's why I ultimately decided to do it. And yeah, that's all fine. I don't set the Solemn because like if you were to go Breaker, I don't want to like, you know, Solemn to protect the knock. And, you know, I could lose the Solemn for no reason. So I go ahead and go Dust Shoot. I also do this to represent that this could be the Solemn. So in case he's going for like a big return push or something, he might, you know, read that this is Solemn because that's what you would assume that I would set. And then he would like MST or Dust Tornado it. And then I could have the actual Solemn, you know, sitting elsewhere. Okay, so I Dust Shoot. See his hand. Yeah, maybe just ripping the duo was better. I don't know. I don't freaking know. This is a bit of a decision. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious what others would do here. I decided to go with the Bazoo. Namely because I don't have a way to stop aggression right now. I have these knocks. I have the Solemn. I don't want to Solemn a Bazoo. But I have the knock for the Spy. Could go BLS even, you know, because like if I'm going to win this game, like I'm going to have to get a lot further into my deck. And so I don't know. I think that the Bazoo is fine just because I don't have an answer to aggression. If he, you know, the best play for him here would be to summon Spy and attack because I still can't contend with that aggression and it, you know, forces the Dark into grave. Okay. And that is what he ends up doing. So very wise move there. I mean, he knows I have knock, so fair enough. And he sets two, knowing that one of them is the Torrential and one of them is the Brain Control. So I draw into Rhoda, which is nice. I don't know. Like I could go Donzalug, but then Delinquent Duo does nothing. I'm not sure. What do I end up going here? I think I end up going just Blade Knight. Just classic Blade Knight. And then he decides to go Torrential on that. I think for a second to still represent that this could be the Solemn. I think this is all fine. Yeah, I mean, I know he has a Dead Brain Con. Do I know what his first set card is? I do not. I don't think I do, no. But I go ahead and just use the duo now. Because there's a world where he could draw into like, actually, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's a way that he could like get a light into grave really quickly and then make BLS and clear out his hand before I have a chance to use the duo. So I'm not going to try to get cute with it. If he draws any other monster, unless it's like a Chaos Sorcerer, like he's going to be getting it into play. Okay, so then I set the Solemn. Sets another one back. Pretty simplified game state here. Fortunately, I have both these knocks. I'll keep at least one in hand in case, you know, I need to do some, you know, in case I draw into Graceful. He goes Bazoo. This does make me wary that this first set could potentially be returned. Not because he summoned the Bazoo and attacked, but just because the longer this game goes on, the more that would make sense. It could also be like a knock. Maybe I saw it earlier. I don't remember, being honest. So I decided to go ahead and use the Saku. I just don't have an answer to aggression, and so I just need to, you know, stifle any sort of aggression he puts up as quickly as possible. This tribe's interesting. I think if he was lower, I would start getting aggressive with the tribe, but still he's at 8,000 life points. There's plenty of monsters that he could draw into. Yeah, so. Also at this point, I'm not sure of what kind of like version of the deck he's on. I really hadn't even thought about it at the time. I just thought, oh, Chaos Return. But because I see the Bazoo, it inclines me to believe that it's more of like a flip version because I haven't seen like the Warrior package yet. But I don't know. That actually doesn't make a ton of sense. So he decides to MST. MST is the Solemn. So I don't know. Maybe he knew I was bluffing, or maybe he thought that I had drawn into a real trap, you know, in rotation at some point. So it kind of backfires on me here trying to do this bluff, you know, thing with the Solemn. Yeah, DD Warrior Lady, we'll take it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know he has Brain Con. I can't really play around it. I just need to get aggressive. So I just go Tribe. This attack. So I don't know what this middle set is. I know the right set is the Brain Con, I think, at this point, after everything that's unfolded. Yeah, so I have Knock. I'd go ahead and decide to pop the Brain Control just so that he can't like clear my board, and then Knock. I'm willing to risk the, whatever this could be, because game one, there's a good chance it could be dead. Sets another back row. I'm just going to MST the new back row and just go for it. But he does have return. That's what he drew. Unfortunate that he had to use return in this spot. And then he just scoops. So obviously drew into some bricky cards, which, like we said before, classic Warrior game one. Game two, see the duo in hand early, which is nice. To be fair, only got one from the duo last time. Yeah, go ahead and just rip it. Why not? We hit heavy and knock, so good to know that he's keeping the knock in. I don't remember if I sided into the flip stuff. I know I said I did. I'm not sure if I did. We'll find out. Just exiled. Got the Prima to go with it, so this is all pretty straightforward here. Again, this is very similar to game one. Decide not to set, or the first match that we went through. Decide not to set, not to set the Solemn. Because I have the Heavy Storm, maybe I can incite him into setting more things himself. Goes DD Warrior Lady, attacks. All straightforward. Draw into Dust Tornado. So now that I have the spell and trap removal, I thought about this for a bit because I could definitely just Prima the the exile and go get the DD Warrior Lady out, but I decided to go ahead and snatch the DD Warrior Lady. Snatch on DD Warrior Lady is pretty powerful because it's always going to trade 1-for-1 into stuff unless they find a way to out the snatch. So I decided to go ahead and get aggressive. I know his heavy's gone, so I'm just going to heavy myself to ensure that this whole thing goes through. It's a little risky because he's so low. Because he's so like high in life, there's a way that like he could maybe stall things out, and the snatch could be doing some weird stuff. But DD really is always a good snatch target because it trades into stuff like I mentioned. And if he were to like set something like a spy, I could always just Prima the exiled anyway. Set all three and move on. This feels like a pretty good spot to be in. So he just summons the Sasuke as a way to block. I dust the ring in the end phase, and we're just in an amazing spot here. I believe that Warrior against the like Chaos Return deck wins a lot of the time as long as they don't resolve Spy. And I mean, this is pretty much is what it is. He's obviously doesn't have the right units going on. I could get aggressive. The exile, that doesn't make any sense. It's my out to stuff. So see, one of the knocks is gone. I guess I at least kept the faith in. He goes return. No need to solemn. No need to do anything yet. Yeah. Then he goes tribute for Zaborg and pops the faith. Again, I could consider the solemn, but I still am in such a winning position. Like I have the battle trap. I have the Prima. I have everything I need. As long as, I still have game next turn, there's no point in doing any of this, especially with Mirror Force set. So go ahead and use the Mirror Force. And I'm glad I kept the Solemn because he has BLS, main phase 2, which I have the Solemn for. And that's going to do GG. He's got another Zaborg in hand. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I know Zaborg is not always the best against Warriors, but I could see it if he's anticipating the flips. I could see a reason to keep it in. So, of course, duo being a big help there, and that is GG. All right, 3-1, heading into round 5. Correct? Yes, against Insidious. This match is nuts. Wild match. This one will be fun to go through. Insidious, of course, really great duelist, has a ton of invites to this event. I think the second most invites. Normally plays Chaos Turbo, very skilled. I know these are the types of duelists that I'm gonna have to get through if I want to top this event. And yeah, the next few rounds I play against a lot of killers. So here we go. I think the play is either summon Sasuke, summon Blade Knight, then set Jar, set Saku. Maybe somebody would do something different, but that's what I'm thinking. I end up going with the Blade Knight set, summon first. Because if he were to set a spy, I could have the Sasuke to deal with it, I guess. That's my reasoning there. Thunder Dragon, Upstart, Breaker. Perfectly fine with that. Down to take the 50-50. If he gets the Saku, he pluses. If not, I do. So I get the Jar. I guess that's a 1-for-1 technically, but happy to get the Breaker out of play. Now, it does obviously quickly make his Light and Dark live, but knowing that he has 2 Thunder Dragons in hand, and you always got to think game 1 against Turbo, 1 or 2 of these cards is going to be a dead knock or a dead dust shoot at a later point in time. So I had to go ahead and go with the Blade Knight again, namely because it's backed up by the Battle Trap, so if he were to go Tsukiyomi, I could deal with it, and if he were to set a monster, I have the Mystic Swordsman to do my thing. So hopefully this would bait out a Battle Trap, but maybe not. Insidious is skilled enough to hold things. Goes Duo. Hits the Mystic Swordsman level 2. I dish the Faith because I haven't seen any spells. Is that what I do? I guess you could consider like this other Sakuretsu, because I already have one set. You could even consider the Sasuke. What do I end up ditching here? I end up ditching the Faith. Okay. Just because I don't have any spells yet. And I could hold it for later. But also, he already upstarted. The further this game goes on, the better chance he has of finding a nobleman. So not in a great spot here now. The key with, Turbo is like you just can't let those flips resolve or the advantage just spirals out of control. So even knowing that he's going to banish this Mystic Swordsman level 2 next turn, I still need to get after his face down. And he uses Ceasefire. This is like the Insidious tech he's been running recently and absolutely been smoking people with it. So yeah, I take 100 plus the 1500. The Dekoichi is able to live. And yeah, I'm in definitely a weird spot now. No point using the Saku, I don't think, here. I really need to use it on the Sorcerer. The problem is, good duelists like this, they know, process of elimination, what your sets probably are at a certain point in time. So he's not going to be attacking into it with the Sorcerer. So I know the Thunder Dragon is what's set. Like, I just, want to start getting after it. Lights are already engraved, so I don't, hate if this gets banished. Maybe I can consider not doing this because, I could at least get some value out of the Battle Trap if he decides to attack with the Thunder Dragon next turn, but there's a chance he might not even do that. So he banishes, sets another monster, and I'm just, feeling a lot of pressure. I gotta, get rid of these flips he keeps setting. Obviously, the last time it was a Thunder Dragon. Drawn to Snatch, which is quite good here. Now, so I have the Breaker to clear the back row, and then go ahead and just go Snatch and just start getting aggressive. That's kind of what I'm gambling on here. Especially knowing that his Breaker's gone. It would feel really good to have like a Dust Tornado or a Solemn in this spot, but do not. He goes Graceful Charity. Pretty good with the Thunder Dragons in hand. Ditches a Dust Shoot that's doing nothing. Gets another Dekoichi. He does have the Tribe, which is the big out. Then I use the Saku, fair enough. Drawn to another Battle Trap. Hate seeing all these Battle Traps against Chaos Turbo, but is what it is. Exiled Pop. You know how it goes. Honestly, this is really not like a terrible position to be in. Yes, I'm down in cards, but we've gone through a few of his charity pieces, a few of his Trinity pieces. I do worry a little bit about Faith at this point because we still haven't seen, Faith from him. So this isn't horrible. I wish these weren't battle traps, but there's definitely some like Trinity of my own I could draw into that would get me into this. So that's another one. Do I attack? Do I not? I think I just pass. Okay, fair enough. I don't know. I think maybe I should just attack here. Because this is a Faith. Like, I don't want him to have a chance to loop it. Potentially. But he ends up setting another one. So, yeah, go ahead and rip the Graceful. Draw into some nice cards. What do I do here? Obviously the Sakuretsu. But what's the other one we get rid of? I kind of like getting rid of the Tribe almost. But we'll see. What do I decide? Yeah, okay. Solemn's too valuable. Set it to play around Dust Shoot first. Yeah, and I feel pretty good here that I can clear his board. I have a read that his first set is either Sinister or Sanguine based off the fact that he didn't flip it. Could be Night Assailant as well. But it does end up being the Sanguine, so my read is correct. So nice. Go ahead and go for the Banish and then knock his set. I was really hoping that was Faith because now I don't really have an out to Faith other than Solemn. But I have some trap sets, so now I just need to find some more Mons, and I'm in a pretty good spot. Kaiku would be amazing here. So it's the set one. I go ahead and just duo. Why not? He has the other Night Assailants. Did I see the Night Assailant earlier? I think I did. So that might have been a mistake. Now that I think about it. Didn't he like off the Graceful he ditched a Night Assailant, but he got back Deco. I don't remember. Maybe he did it with the Tribe. Yeah, the Tribe with... I don't know. So then he has the Faith. In this situation, you don't necessarily want to Solemn the Faith. You a lot of times want to Solemn the Graceful itself because now he has this monster in attack position that I can attack over for damage. The only risk with this is Tsukiyomi, because then if he has Tsukiyomi, then I'm forced to, eat the L basically. So I go ahead and Solemn the Graceful. Take 300. I know that one of his sets, or one of his in his hand is Night Assailant, I guess. I don't know how I know that. Little confused here, but we'll let it all go. I've drawn to a ring. Not that great. I need to find some Mons. Kaiku would be amazing. BLS is still in deck. I'll take the 300, I guess. And then he sets one. Drawn to call. Just like keep drawing his traps. Really need to get something going. He goes heavy. I'm forced to ring. Yeah, this is kind of awkward. It's like I need to set this call because I have so many great, cards I could get into. Obviously, I'm playing into Heavy Storm at this point, but I can't really not. I mean, maybe I could have held the ring, but then the outcome's the same anyway. I'm so low at this point. I think I just have to set the stuff that plays into the heavy anyway. A bit unfortunate. I think I just kind of got outdrawn that game, to be perfectly honest, but maybe there was a few things I could have did differently. The duo, my use of duo there was probably not right, knowing that he had a Night Assailant in hand. So, definitely some things I could improve upon. So now we go into the flips post board. What do I do here? I think I just set the DD Warrior Lady and pass. This is fine because if he were to go Zumbira, I would just banish both, and I'd feel perfectly good about that. But also I can get aggressive next turn with knowing that I have the knock in hand. So flip this. Okay, here was an interesting spot. I flip this to play around the torrential because he has to then torrential his own monster. But I flip it and he thinks for a while. He thought for several seconds about what to do in response to this. And then I knock and I see that it's a Sangan. So that's a pretty clear read that this is a torrential. And so I play like it's a torrential for the majority of this game until I don't. So we'll get there. But that should have been a pretty clear indicator to me what was going on. Okay. So he upstarts. We banish the Sangan. We have the knock in hand. What's the move here? Yeah, I think because I have the premature burial, I like going ahead and just going exiled. And attack. This is all pretty straightforward. I think I decided not to set the Mirror Force because I'm, perfectly high in life. I'm not going to get like OTK'd or anything. And also I just have like a read that he has, like he could potentially have a breaker in his hand or have some sort of spell trap removal. I just don't feel like it's doing a lot for me yet. And the DD Warrior Lady is doing DD Warrior Lady things where it's a pseudo removal in its own right. So I think that's perfectly fine to not set the Mirror Force yet. Because I think, in past Grace would have just set this without a second thought. Because now if I draw into heavy, that would be kind of nuts. Okay, so I keep attacking. He sets another thing. So I even more kind of further reiterating that this is torrential. Because if he doesn't set something, he's just going to keep taking these DD Warrior Lady shots. So he has to Sakuretsu armor that. What do I do here? I have knock, Rhoda, engrave. So, Faith is all right. But the problem with Faith at this point is that, knock would be a good grab. But Rhoda is becoming worse and worse because, post board, I only have like one of each warrior basically. And later on in the tournament, I started even siding out one copy of the Rhoda itself because of this game specifically. So I decided not to set it yet. I know it's probably going to resolve. I don't think he's going to side into Nox or anything, but I need to wait until I get some Trinity going. Hopefully, that's what I'm thinking. So set the ring, set the Blade Knight. He does have the MST. I don't know how long he had it. So, but this is really not the end of the world here. Getting this cross. Draw into another face, so now I'm kind of forced to set it. Still don't set the Mirror Force. Maybe at this point I do, but I'm not sure. He just attacks. We'll grab Rhoda. And then he sets another one. Again, maybe he should have grabbed knock. Then he sets one right there. But if he sees I grab knock, he might not set, so I don't know. What's the move here? I still have the Mirror Force to protect the Mystic Swordsman level 2. So I like trying to get some value out of the Mystic Swordsman level 2. If the attack doesn't go through, then I will Prima for Exiled Force. Sucks I still haven't seen a Dark yet. The ratios are good. I really think the ratios on lights and darks are good. I just, haven't seen any darks yet, unfortunately. So the Sork isn't getting a ton of value. So I book he books the Mystic Swordsman level 2. I go exiled to pop the face down. And then I set the Rhoda. What are we doing here? I don't know why. I just was so paranoid about setting this Mirror Force. I think my thinking here is that if you were to use some sort of spell and trap removal on this Rhoda, I wouldn't hate it because I only have Sasuke left that I can basically grab, I think, off of Rhoda. Maybe there's an argument to just grab the Sasuke right away to not risk drawing into it, but I think I'm thinking at this point, like, I don't really want to have to Mirror Forces on Byra. That is at 1700 attack. I'd rather just attack back over it. This was a little strange, I'll be honest. I think I had a hard read that he had Breaker or something. So let that whole thing go through. Drawn to the other Rhoda. So what do I have left here? So I have Sasuke, and do I have another warrior left? I can't remember. So yeah, now I go ahead and do this. Yeah, some mistakes there. Definitely not my cleanest play. Sets another one. Again, I know that this is torrential at this point. Like, it's pretty obvious, so not going to go crazy into it. Go ahead and set the Faith. I don't know. Like, Prima is probably what I'd grab now. It seems like the best move. Also, Nox available. Luckily, he hasn't seen a ton of Trinity yet, because I should be... With the way this game has gone, I think I should have put more aggression on. But I played it a bit past it. Okay, so now he finds Graceful. Thunder Dragon, Night Assailant. Things are getting a little out of hand. I get Duoed. Which I guess kind of works out because I ditched the dead Rhoda. I don't know if I even have any warriors left. I don't think I do. So, this does not feel great. Then he sets one back, passes, and then I draw into Pot of Greed. This is exactly what I needed. So, drawn to a knock. Trying to decide. I think I thought about whether to like flip the Faith first or whatnot. I don't know. I just go ahead and just knock the face down. I think my thinking was that if it's a Dekoichi, I wouldn't mind getting the Dekoichis out of play. But then again, they wouldn't be bad to get anyways. I don't know. I don't know if there's actually reasoning behind that, but I think that's all fine. Go ahead and go Pot of Greed. I could like set this Sakuretsu armor to, potentially play around Trap Dust Shoot, but I don't think he has Trap Dust Shoot. And, the Sakuretsu could be a good ditch off of the sauce of the tribe. So now we're in a much better spots. I get Mirror Forced, and I just set the Solemn. I set the Solemn because the Saku would be my ditch off of tribe because I have a battle trap already set. So I think that's all reasonable, I guess. I could even set both, but that doesn't make sense. He goes Breaker. What do I do here? I end up Solemning it. I don't know if he had Breaker or if he drew into it or what. Yeah. This puts me in such a weird spot. I Solemn to protect the Mirror Force. I don't know. But then I find the Dekoichi, which is nice. The problem with this game, I think, like these flips, the Dekoichis, the Merchants, I mean, Faith is obvious not, but the Dekoichis especially, I want to see them early. Like I want to get them going in rotation while my opponent is attacking with like Zambiras and stuff, just to like get some Darks in the Grave, to get further into my deck, to start, drawing into my Trinity pieces and getting ahead in card advantage. But I found them later in this game, kind of after they were useful, of course the face would go crazy here now. I mean, they did, I was able to do Pot of Greed twice, but yeah, I just don't think I found them in the right order. But, that's being a little picky, wishy-washy. Drawn to MST. I don't think there's any reason to like MST anything. Go ahead and go to Koichi. Just attack, I guess. Set all this stuff. And then I set the Sakuretsu armor. See, that was like my thing. I'm holding this for the tribe to ditch off the tribe, but then I set it. That might have been a mistake. Just MST the new one. Like, you're going to pretty much always get value out of MST in this matchup. I go Breaker into the, he just set Serpent last turn. He probably set it again, knowing that he has Torrential set. I play into this. I should have known that he had this. And, it does slow down a bit of my aggression. I definitely should have not done that. But at the same time, like, I don't know. Like, I need to get after it anyway. I can't just keep going 1-for-1 into the Serpent until he starts, doing Chaos Turbo stuff. So, I don't know. I think it's okay, I guess. But definitely would not have liked that. So then I Solemn Heavy Storm. Yeah, I guess. You kind of have to, right? Or I probably die. And he goes Swords of Revealing Light and then sets one. So I'm not in a good position here. Drawn to BLS. Hell yeah. But now I don't have the Solemn to protect it. Just these battle traps, I don't know. They're not feeling very good this game. I definitely, could have considered siding them out. The thing though is like with the like Tsukiyomi, the flips and stuff like that, I kind of like having them because they can help. For whatever reason, if like he goes first turn, if I set a Dekoichi and Sakuretsu armor behind it, and they go Zombaira, and I can Saku the Zombaira, like just having that body on board, that 1400, getting after his life points quickly, and even potentially forcing out like a battle trap before I have to, before I've even summoned a warrior monster, feels pretty good. So I don't hate it, but they definitely don't look good here. I decide to set the tribe. I think this is just to get a little tricky. Playing a bit off of feel. I'm not going to try to justify every decision that I make, though I usually do. So I can tell based off of how this all went, this is the middle one, Sinister. Don't know what the new set is. I could summon BLS, but what can I do? I can't kill him. I could start banishing, but he definitely has a chaos monster of his own at this point, ready to answer whatever I do. So just pass. Just got to get this Swords out of here. The reason that I haven't, why I set this, I think, as well, is because I have both of these battle traps to back it up. So then he goes Ceasefire after putting down the Chaos Sorcerer. And this, I said GG. This is my mistake. Definitely preemptive. I thought I was dead. I didn't even do the math. I just assumed like the way he set this all up. I'm like, okay, well, I'm dead. I'm at 2,000 life or 2,175 life. And I take 2,000 damage here. So banishes the tribe. Goes to attack for game. Have to use the Mirror Force. So summoning that Mirror Force did come in handy, I will admit. So back against the wall here. I know that he has to have some gas in hand. Has to. He has to have a Snatch or a Chaos Monster of his own at this point. However, it is good to remember that he does have 2 Thunder Dragons in hand. So Sorcerer, Swords, 2 Thunder Dragons, 1 mystery card that is either a Chaos Monster or Snatch. That is my assumption. So what's the move here? I can Snatch Tsukiyomi. I could go BLS. What do I end up doing? I think this is the correct move. I go BLS, go right here, do all that. Because now I know he doesn't have a knock. He has 2 Thunder Dragons, 1 mystery card, 1 something that's gas, like I said. So if he summons a Chaos Monster, I could... He wouldn't summon a Chaos Monster, right? If he summoned BLS, he would either attack. If he were to attack, I would have to Saku. If he were to banish, then I would Snatch next turn. If he were to Sork, I don't know. I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to get in all this shit. I'm sorry. So he goes, Gravekeeper Spy, summon, attack. Tells me right away that he has Snatch because he's trying to get it face up so that he can use it. So, okay, with all of this info in mind, go ahead and just Saku that bad boy. The fact that, he has to make that play leads me to believe that he's in a pretty desperate spot here. And I would assume that this face down is not real. If it were real, then I don't feel like he would have made that play. But I could be wrong. So, Graceful, of course. I could go for game. I just said that I don't think the back row is real. And then I decided not to go for it. But yeah, I ditched the 2 monsters, basically. Very interesting that I decide not to go for game there. The main concern being if I were to summon either the Sengen or the Dekoichi, if he were to Chaos Sorcerer and attack back over, I would lose. So That makes sense. It took me a while to come around to the reasoning that I made during the game. Then set this again because I know he has Snatch. Drawn to Dust, which is very nice for the Snatch, and the Call of the Haunted will help just wrap things up. So we're both sitting here. I'm at 175. He's at 700. Goes with the Chaos Sorcerer. Attacks to, once again, go for the Snatch. Does it. I have the Dust. And that's just game. Wild ass game. I know Insidious, we talked a little bit after this. He mentioned that if he would have waited one more turn on the ceasefire, that it would have killed me. So, you know, I could have easily lost this game. And I know he was kind of beating himself up about this one. So I got away with one there for sure. Definitely the least clean that I've played so far. Okay. So sets 2. Don't have any answers to face downs. What's the play here? What's the move? My assumption is that if he's setting 2 this early, that one of them at least is chainable. So Breaker doesn't feel amazing, but I still decide to go for it, I think, just because I don't have a lot of other options and I want to start getting aggressive. It's a ceasefire. Okay, so I take 1,000 damage. Go ahead, attack into the Sanguine. He grabs Serpent, namely because I have the Kaiku. You know, maybe you could wait and not, but I think with this hand, I want to get aggressive. I want to get after it quickly and just set everything. All right, sets another one. MST, the new sets. I still am concerned about the old set because what is he setting next to a ceasefire? To me, it feels like a real trap. Here, I decide not to attack just to kind of figure out what this set could be. You know, there is a world that it is a Gravekeeper Spy, which, you know, would be a little weird. I don't know. My thinking is that I will be able to tell pretty quickly if this is still the Sinister, because then I can start getting really aggressive next turn, flip to Koichi, summon Kaiku, because I got the Solemn and the Call to kind of back this all up, and so I can get his Sinister out of play as quickly as possible. So I just wait on it. He goes Zambaira. This seems as good as time as any to use the Saku, I think. And then he goes Swords, which, like I said, I want to get aggressive here. This time I decide to go ahead and Solemn it. And then he sets 1. What's the move here? Torrential's gone, so Mirror Force is the main concern. But I think as the aggro player, you just have to go for it at this juncture. I don't think I can wait around and just try to play this slow game. I need to get after the Sinister. I need to get after his LP. The fact that, you know, this went through now tells me that he doesn't have Mirror Force. He could definitely have like a Sakuretsu armor or something. If he does, I'm just gonna use the Call on the Kaiku, and he's forced to use the other Sakuretsu armor. So I feel like I'm in a pretty decent spot here. I don't have outs to face downs, so that's a little awkward. And he's still got the Sinister in rotation, but still feel like I'm in a decent spot. Just finding a lot of these battle traps in this matchup. Sets 1 passes. I assume it to be the Sinister, but it is a Faith, so he's able to grab back Swords. That's a little concerning because, you know, I'm in a great spot, applying pressure. I've got Ring. I just need to, you know, not let him slow down the game, and that is exactly what Swords is going to do. And he goes Tribe. Fake thing for a second, as if like I might Solemn it or something. I don't know. So he's able to get that free plus. What do I end up doing here? Interesting that I decide to wait on this. I don't know. I kind of like just using the Mirror Force here. I mean, I can't attack next turn anyway. I'm thinking I'm just going to try to save the Mirror Force for later and just crash the Breaker into the Tribe. But I don't know, drawn to dust, which is nice. So now I just pass. I could like ring this quickly, but I think I'm trying to save the ring for like some sort of game shot situation here. He goes tribe. It's the breaker. Attacks. Now I'm Mirror Force. Could have just done this last turn, but at that point, you know, he might have set something else or done something else, and he summons the Zumbira. So all I need is a monster, and that will do it. So very nice combination of cards to find there at the end. But, you know, sometimes warriors, you can just start get aggressive early, and if they don't have the right answers, then that does it. GG's to Insidious. Really appreciate you guys. You know, the reason I make these videos, I just like want to engage with the community, and, you know, I just want to, you know, talk about tournaments and, you know, just do my own thing. And I definitely would encourage more people to like make content about tournament runs and stuff. I just make the kind of content that I want to see from other players. And so, you know, if you're ever interested in like making stuff like this and you don't know how to do it or whatever, let me know. Send me a message on Discord and I'd be glad to help you get set up with whatever you need. So that is going to do it for now. I want to add at the end of this video that I do plan on stepping back away for a while from the game. I've got a lot of other stuff I want to work on, but I will be back eventually. I've learned that when I left this game for the few months that I did, and I completely cut myself off from it, I've learned that I can cut myself off from the game. I can stop, you know, playing Yu-Gi-Oh! This game is hyper addicting and it consumes so much of my time and my focus. And I'm going to be glad to be stepping back away from it for a while to work on writing. And I got so much done over the break. Long story short, blah, blah, blah. But the one thing I cannot, you know, cut myself off from is this community. And that's, you know, kind of what I discovered. So I'll be around. I'll still have Discord. So send me a message if you want to, you know, chat or whatever. But yeah, I might make another video about Worlds. I know I've talked briefly with Alvarado, maybe about with Moxie's about doing something about his run. So there might be more content coming about Worlds, but in general, I'm going to go kind of quiet again for a bit. So I really appreciate you guys. I think that's all I got. You know, there's been a lot of talking. I'm tired. I just really appreciate you all. Please, you know, keep doing your thing. If anybody ever needs to talk, going through hard times, feel free to send me a message. I might not always be able to respond, but, you know, I genuinely care about everybody in this community, and love y'all until the next one. Peace.